Now you have this other creation now from the J version. That was the from the pre-source. Now this is from the J. J, which is the Y. Y, which is Yahweh. The people always believe in the Most High's name as Yahweh. So now, and their versions start with verse 4. So verse in chapter 2, verse 1, 2, 3, those three verses supposedly were written by a redactor or whatever, but you know, the other version, the Y version, which is the J version. Where's the book of J? Like the book of J by Harold Bloom. Like this version starts in Genesis, the second chapter, verse 4. So now these are the generations of heavens, of the earth, when they were created in the day that the Most High. Now, from the first verse, if you read second chapter, this is why they came up with that documentary hypothesis. That hypothesis. When you read Genesis 2, verse 1, thus the heavens and the earth was finished, and all the hosts of them. Verse 2, and on the seventh day, the Most High, and it says on the seventh day, God, G-O-D, which if you go into Hebrew, the word that's there will be Elohim, ended his work, which he had made. So the word God is still being used from the first chapter to the second chapter. And the second chapter, the first three verses, word God is still being used. In verse 3, Genesis 2, verse 3, and God, G-O-D, meaning Elohim, blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. Okay, that's a good verse. That's from the P document. So we've been reading the P document from the first chapter, first verse until now, until the second chapter, first verse, second verse, third verse. And then it says, the Most High blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work, which God created and made. So this is when Sabbath was instituted. This is when it says, well, Sabbath is because of the Most High rested on the seventh day. That's one document. But now when you go to Deuteronomy, the 5th chapter, verse 15, it says it gave you another version of the Sabbath now. Not the same version at all. A totally different version. See, this version says Sabbath is because the Most High rested on the seventh day. Now, that's why they're saying Deuteronomy now, a totally different writer called the Deuteronomist. They believe it has something to do with Jeremiah and Baruch. Now, this version says, well, Sabbath, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Remember, this Sabbath, the reason you have to follow the Sabbath because you were slaves in Egypt. That's a totally different Sabbath. Totally different, not Sabbath, totally different way of looking at Sabbath. Why the Sabbath came about and how it came about and why it came about. So the Deuteronomist, it's not that it contradicts what the P document is saying. It's just saying it's giving you a different perspective, a different reason why the Sabbath, So these people, Deuteronomy said, no, the Sabbath was given because you guys were slaves in Egypt. So now you have to keep the Sabbath now because you have rest. But Genesis, the second chapter, we just read, says, no, Sabbath been there. Been there since, creation, which means it's almost like they're saying, well, Adam kept the Sabbath. Noah kept the Sabbath. Abraham kept the Sabbath. But none of the writers wrote that Abraham kept a Sabbath. None of the writers, they could have, because nobody could have stopped them, because once you have your pen, you have your paper, you can write whatever. But none of them wrote it. None of them said, well, there was a time Jacob was doing this thing, taking care of the sheep, and it was Saturday, and Laban, his uncle, said, Jacob, go inside because it's Sabbath. There's no examples at all. Although they could have. Nobody was stopping them. Because a lot of times people are saying, well, if God, this book is the book of God, whatever, why would God allow people to write whatever they want to write? Listen, you have your paper, you have your pen, you can write whatever you want to write. Hopefully it's good. And the Most High say, look, when good people that I sent, when they say things you see happen, then I sent those people. But when the ones that write things that's weird, if it's weird, I didn't send them. I didn't talk to him in a dream in any way. So everybody has the power to write whatever you want to write, basically. The Most High not going to stop you. The Most High never going to say, oh, give me that paper and pen. Do not write. If I see you keep writing, I'm going to kill you. No, you can write whatever you wanted to write. Anybody can wake up back then and say, look, I'm a prophet. Let me write a book. And then a lot of people say, oh, yeah, that's a book of a prophet. Let me follow it. That's why in our time, me, I'm like, look, I have nothing to lose. I'm just going to read the Bible and really analyze to see what makes sense to me. If I see something that looks spooky, something weird, I'm like, that part, let me put it on. Let me put it aside, because this one looks weird. Then I gotta search and search. I'm not scared to say something is bugged out in the Bible, because I'm a man. The people who wrote it are men. If they had a little wisdom from the Most High, good. And not all of them gonna have wisdom from the Most High. So it's not everything. I'm sure there was a time I couldn't think like this. I couldn't say this because I'd be scared to say this. I'm like, oh wow, as if a lightning gonna come and hit me. So I was like paranoid. But now I'm a man. I know there are men the Most High sent to do the work, and there are men that were inspired by some type of serpent type of ideas, spirits. So I have to analyze everything to see if it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I am not scared to say this, put it in the garbage. And if I find out later I was wrong, I'm going to go back to the garbage and take it back. But until then, until I see it makes sense, it's going to go in the garbage or somewhere aside. It's just like I'm reading the book of Job. I'm seeing this guy talking about something happened in heaven. Satan was there, came to the Most High and talk. Then my mind is like, it's not just that. There's a bunch of things. But now when you start talking about a serpent guy, a Satan guy, talking in heaven, and then people create theories and religion after this thing, then I got a question, and people actually so scared of this, some devil guy, some Satan guy, then that's when I said, nah, that book, listen, I need more proof. I need pictures that you took when you went in that heaven seeing that Satan guy talking to the Most High. You see, is somebody gonna say, well, what about Genesis? They say, the sun was created in that day. Who was there that day? You're right. Nobody was there. But at least there's no theory being, postulated, propagated, being concocted about some, something you have to worship the sun, though. Well, the heathen. But not the heathen. They worship the sun. There's nothing, where you have to be scared of the sun. No major ideas that gets people paranoid about creation. So true, if you want to say, well, what proof do they have? Let's say 10 billion years ago that actually happened. How the hell do they know? Nobody knows. Nobody was there. But I'm just using my sense to see, does it make sense that could be the way it could have happened? And let's say it didn't really happen like this. Like Genesis, the way it says Genesis, let's say, creation didn't happen like this. I'm not losing anything. Guess what? All right, I don't care. That has nothing to do with my belief as far as following what I'm supposed to follow to do the right thing or the wrong thing. But that Satan thing, that's beyond the story of a little Genesis thing. That's something that people they paranoid. They're doing things because, you know, they're killing people. They think, oh, that Satan guy made me do it. You know, this is heavy. This is that lie. I'm not taking it. You know, uh, that's a big lie. That's a big that thing actually control people's spirits on what to do, what not to do with that demon, that Satan thing. That's a major, that's a big lie. You know, so that Satan story, that's more like a like the white people would say, that's a black lie. Although that's racist to say this. But the one in Genesis, if it's a lie, that's a white lie. You know, that's not something that's a lie that's not gonna create that kind of nobody should want to kill somebody because they don't believe in Genesis or how Earth was created. You know, nobody should think that Genesis is controlling your spirit to make you do evil things. But that Satan idea, that's why I'm so against big lies like this. Like saying I'm killing it, I'm destroying it. There'll be videos I'll do about that Satan guy, how he never existed. He doesn't exist. That's some theory, some people made up. You know, the same way I'm going hard on that Jesus thing. Never existed. That's some crazy thing people just created. And then a lot of people just swallow it and then they live their life according to it. And then there had been billions of people that got murdered because of that teaching, of that Jesus teaching, because of that Muhammad teaching. Till this day, a lot of Muslims, they believe if they go kill people, murder people, and they say Allah Akbar and then blow up somebody, and then Allah gonna give them a bunch of virgins. That type of teaching, yeah, I'm going against, because that when it has to do with people dying now, like major thing happening, me, if I know better, I'm gonna say things like, look, relax, like what makes you believe something that crazy? You never talk to no Allah. Allah never talk to you. Allah doesn't even exist. Allah never talk to you. Then you believe in this, and then if you don't believe it and then do no crime, don't kill nobody, okay, that's all right. But when you start doing major things like killing people, blowing up people, even blowing up animals, that needs to be checked. Like somebody with power gotta stop this. Somebody, although the time that we're living in, everybody want to do their own thing. Everybody got power. Everybody, everybody's like kings. But if the earth had some type of real, order in it, that type of teaching would have to be checked. Whoever propagating it would have to be checked, because that's creating some other crazy thing. If it was only people believing that thing and then it's not causing no harm, okay, that's cool. If you don't believe in eating dog feces, you just get sick by yourself, that's one thing. But when you taking dog feces and then take a gun and say, yo, you better eat it, I'm going to shoot you, then that's something else. That's when people with the right mind are going to have to stand up and say, look, that thing got to go. There's no room for this thing. So it's the same thing with the Jesus thing. There's a lot of things that, that cause people to do evil things. In fact, the main reason I'm still saying black people are slaves worldwide right now is mainly because of that Christianity garbage. Because if blacks weren't deceived by that thing, they could have wake up and say, look, we're not getting whipped no more. We're not going to be slaves for nobody no more. Whoever don't like it, we're going to fight. But as long as they mentally enslaved with that garbage, then they are divided, then they will always be slaves. And then I happen to be black. So if most of the black don't want to fight to stop being slaves, that means I got to be slaves because of you soft and passive people, because you believe in other BS. That's why you're not getting together to make sure you free yourself. Then I have a problem with that. So I'm doing my videos to make sure, trying to wake up people like, look, this is not how you're supposed to live life. You weren't put here to be somebody else's slaves, to be somebody else, quote unquote. I don't want to curse, but I wanted to use the B words. You weren't put here to be somebody's bees, man. So every man was put here to live life good. When you have people, the only thing that's in their mind because of their religions, they create a different world for people so people can be slaves and all these things. Then people with the right mind needs to get up and team up and like, yo, that's not happening. We're gonna shut it down. If you don't like it, that's your business. We're gonna shut it down. So if everybody, you know, especially the slaves, the black slaves, they had that mentality. The mentality like, look, we're not we're not gonna believe that Jesus garbage. We're gonna team up. Listen, any bad thing that happens to us, we're gonna team up. We're gonna fight it, and it's gonna stop. And then guess what? Everybody would wake up and be like, yo, we're not gonna do that anymore. You know, we're not gonna do that anymore. It's just like these people came up with COVID. They put it worldwide, killing people with it. They say, "Oh no, you gotta wear masks," and then everybody said, "Okay, we gotta wear masks," you know, because the child to wear masks. You gotta do this. You gotta take vaccine. Everybody gotta do it. You know, everybody until you have a bunch of Canadians in Canada. They started to do actions and block highways and all these things, and then they woke up those people like those leaders say, "Yo, oh yeah, we gotta back up. These people mean business." So sometimes people have to do actions to let the other people with the power, to let them know, look, we're not your mules. We're not your donkeys. We weren't put here for this. We were put here. We were born just like you. We came out another woman's vagina just to come here and live life good. We weren't put here to be your slaves, to be your donkeys. You know. But anyway, that's what I had to say. Verse 1, 2, and 3. And the three part was verse 3 was the part with shows you it was still using the language God, Elohim, Elohim. Now verse 4, this is where the second creation starts. Genesis second chapter, verse 4. These are the generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created, and that day, and the day that the Lord God, like I said, every time you see the word God, then that's when they use the Most High's name. And the day that Yahweh, so it's not using the word God anymore. It's using Yahweh. So that's when Yahweh's just first time being used in the Bible. This is the introduction of using the word Yahweh in the Bible. Genesis second chapter, verse 4. Made the earth and the heavens. So now these people are going to give you their own version of made the earth and the heavens. And it's funny how in the other version they use the heaven with S, you know, but these guys now they put the other heaven without S, it made it earth and heaven. And then this translation is saying God made the earth and the heavens. Like there's a bunch of heavens. You know, I don't know why they translate it like this, but I guess I don't really speak the Hebrew. I can read a little bit, but all I know, all the heavens, the one with S, without S, I always see the word Shamayim in there. So I don't know why this translation had to put S. So maybe there was a Shamayim with more Shamayim. I don't know. There was more Mayim in the Shamayim. I don't know. But anyway, I guess people really speak the Hebrew and read it. They understand why the other heaven, which is the firmament, the sky, was just one dome. But this translation in verse 4 put S in there. How many domes? You know, I mean, heaven, Shamayim, Mayim is water. So giving you an idea, that thing, the heaven is made with water because it was some crystal to separate water from water. So I don't know why there's S here. But in the English, I see S. The Hebrew, I thought it was Shamayim, but maybe the genius who wrote it had to put S because it sounds better. You know, just like you got water and then you have waters. So I guess using the same thing, it sounds better when you put S in the heavens. I don't know. Well, maybe somebody probably know why there's S here. Maybe there's Shamayim, Mayim. I don't know. There's more Shamayim. I don't know. But verse 5, and every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew, the Lord had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. So I don't know what day was that. So this is a totally different creation story. But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. Whatever that thing was. Something in the middle and then watered the whole earth. That thing must have been huge. I don't know what kind of water. See, like when you have grass, you have those water. What do you call these things I have outside? They must have a giant one that watered the whole earth. That means that thing when it comes from the earth, well, some people say, no, it's just talking about little dew from the ground just coming, But this thing say, well, it's some English translation are like crazy, but that's not the point. So I'm not even gonna try to go to the Hebrew and this, see what the hell's going on here. That wasn't the point. But it says, but there went up a mist from the earth and water the whole face of the ground. That mist, I don't know. It could be the dew, like they say, when you wake up in the middle of the night. When you wake up in the morning, so at night there was a bunch of water, just water the grass. That's probably what it is. But that's not the point. But I can accept that because that's what I was taught anyway. I have no other way of looking at it. Verse 7, now this is my part, because my part is trying to show you the difference between the two creations. There are two creations here, and they came from two different sources, two different people, two different minds, two different times, two different groups of people. And then they were put together to join in one book to make it look like it's one person, but it was never one person. Verse 7, Genesis 2. And the Most High, it says, in the Lord God, which is Yahweh, Yahweh, form men of the dust of the ground. So now this, well, at least these, letting us know we are made of dust of the ground. I guess that's why when we die, we get buried, and after a few years, you only see the bones. The body been disintegrated into the ground, because I guess we are the ground. It's a bunch of, we are nothing but dirt, made of the dirt of the ground. That was verse 7. And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. This is the most important part. That part was not in the other creation. And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Man became a, when they say the word soul, because a lot of people, when they see the word soul, they think it's something that's going to fly into the sky. When they say living soul, meaning a living person. The soul just means person. Doesn't mean some soul, some spirit. Man became a living spirit flying. It's just another word for a person. So souls do not exist, and souls do exist. So I'm saying two things: souls do not exist, and souls do exist. So the souls that they teach in church, in those religions, something that fly, that goes to heaven, that do not exist. We are what we see right here: flesh, bones, blood, and some computer inside our head that makes us think. And I don't know, some fleshly computer. It's supposed to be the heart, something that you're able to use to make you think intelligently. I don't know, some fleshly computer. Because when you open your body, you don't see no machine. It's like a fleshly machine, which is the hell of a machine. Wow, this is different. At least the computer we have is some metal, plastic, or anything else. But the Most High able to make us some type of thing and put it inside of us. I guess in our heart. Because all our thinkings are really coming from the heart, not from your head. I guess you have a brain that help you see. I don't know if there's any type of thinking happening inside our head, but I know all the thinkings, as far as I know, is coming from your heart. Whether it's good, it's from the heart. That thing that pumps blood, I know it's also a machine that's able to think. It's a funny machine. It's a fleshly machine. It doesn't look like a machine, but all the thinking is coming from here. If you hate somebody, it's coming from your heart. If you love somebody, it's coming from your heart. Everything I'm saying right now is coming from my heart. And I'm not saying it as a way of speech. I'm saying it literally. Although my mouth is talking, my eyes are seeing, I feel my brain in there. but everything is coming from your heart. Your whole life is coming from there. So breathing into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Man became a real human being. Man became a so-called God. You know, the other one, and the first Genesis, the first chapter, man was like a God. Was like the most, like a God. Those type of human beings, they are like a God. And Genesis 2, man was not like a God. Man was a God himself. Although it says in the book of Psalm, he created man a little lower than a God, a little lower, but it's still a little God. I have said that ye are gods. So man was this man right here in Genesis, the second chapter, is not the same type of man as Genesis, the first chapter. That other man was like something. It wasn't a thing. It was like that thing. It was a replica. You know, it's like you have Rolex. You have a Rolex. Then you have a replica. So the man in Genesis, the second chapter, was a Rolex. The man in Genesis, the first chapter, was a replica. Was something from China. Was a replica. So that's the difference. You know, it's like the man in Genesis, the second chapter, was Gucci. The man in the first chapter was Fucci. That was fake Gucci. So Adam, 6,000 years ago, I don't know, according to the people who wrote this thing, where they got that information from. There was gods walking on earth. There was gods walking on earth. Wherever they got it from, you know, and they say, you know, those people, it all started with that man, Adam. That was there 6,000 years ago. You know, so now in my other videos, I have broken down, you know, the chronology of Adam, you know, how I got Adam was only 6,000 years ago. You know, how? Because Adam sounds like somebody that was created a billion years ago. Yeah, maybe the first one, the non-God one, yes. Maybe I can't put a time on this one, but on this one I can put a time. And this one is not the father of everybody on earth. So there are people on earth that are remnants of those people. Gods, I don't know if they still have a little bit of God in them, because Adam messed up when he listened to Eve, and all that God thing was taken away. All that living soul, when the Most High told Adam, as you read on here, I'm saying it's, you know, because I'm about to end the video because it's long. I'm gonna have to chop it up anyway in different parts. So Adam over here in the second chapter of Genesis, the version of Adam that the book of J, the J source is talking about those people who believe that the Most High's name was always Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. Those people, they somehow got some information that somehow certain people on earth were gods. So-called, well, the word gods. And they are not the same as some other people on earth, you know. But now, I'm sure a lot of people listen and say, oh, then, okay, where are they? Who are they? You know, because it thought everybody came from Adams. Everybody came from the first Adam. That was a replica. Not everybody. A lot of people came from that replica. But everybody in history that created some form of civilization, they all came from the second Adam. Whether it was the Romans, the Greeks, the Israelites, the Cushites, the Egyptians, the Mizraimites. I'm not talking about the Egyptians that live there right now. Right now, you have all type of people live there. You know, everybody move around the earth, and then, you know, now almost in every part of the world, the people that live in these lands right now, most of them are not the original inhabitants of those lands. So people move around. So the Egyptian, I'm not talking about the Egyptian now. You got a bunch of type of people in Egypt right now. You know, so but the ancient Egyptians, they knew they were gods. The ancient Ethiopians, they knew they were gods. Even the ancient Canaanites, though they were cursed because of what Ham did, they knew they were gods. But I guess bad gods doing bad things. Even the Sodomites from Sodom and Gomorrah, they knew they were gods. That's why the Most High came down and spoke to Abraham and said, look, what am I hearing that these people doing things like this? These people are supposed to be gods. Why are they acting like this? Why are they acting like people that live in the Americas? Meaning in those days, who knows? There was still people throughout the, you know, living on earth. Why are they acting like those people or the other people? They're not those people. Those people came from the other Adam. Those are replicas. Those are people are made to be like me, but they're not really, you know, they're not gods. But these people, why are they acting like this? That's why the Most High got mad and destroyed things. Descendants of Adam. Now, everybody would want to be, you know, a descendant of that Adam, the 6,000 years. So, you know, although I broke it down, let me quickly break it down how I got 6,000 years. Adam. Okay, let me start with us now. Me, year 2022, year 2000. If I go 2,000 years, because so-called 2000 AD, if I go to Jesus' time, so-called Jesus that never existed, but I go to that time, 2,000 years from now, then from Jesus' time, so far I got 2,000 years. 2,000 years. From Jesus' time, you go to King David time. That's 3,000 years. Because King David was around 1,000 BC. So from Jesus to King David is 1,000 years. So far 3,000 years. From King David to Abraham, that's another 1,000 years. That's 2,000 BC, around 2,000 BC. Whether it's 19 something, 18 something, 19 something, 21 something, it was around 2000 BC. So that's 4,000 years so far from Abraham. From Abraham was there during the death of Noah. Before Noah died, Abraham was alive, if you do the math. So from Abraham to the birth of Noah, that's another 1,000 years. So which means if Abraham was 2000 BC, Noah was born 3000 BC. Now, when you do the math again, from Noah to that Adam, which is 1,000 years apart, that's 6,000 years. So which is 4,000 BC, which means Adam was walking the earth 4,000 BC. So now, I'm hearing a lot of different type of history that says, well, so-and-so was there, 6,000 BC, 5,000. I don't know where those books, you know, they say, well, the Egyptians, the Kemetic people, you know, they were there like 4,500, you know, BC, whatever. That's a lie, because if Kemet, not Kemet, if Kemet, from the word Kem, which is the word him, which means hot lands. Ham was the son of Noah, and Ham was born. If Noah was there 3000 BC, if and Ham was born 500 years, 600 years after Noah's birth, because that's when he had his three kids. So which means Kemet, which means Ham, could only be there around 24 BC. 2400, not for 24 BC, 2400 BC, which means 4400 years from now. So 2400 BC. Now, if there's any history that says, well, Kemet was there, they were doing this thing. There was a king there. They were doing this thing. The year 35, 100 BC, which means before the birth of Noah. So how would Kemet from Ham? How the hell would they be there 500 years before their own father was born? This makes no sense. So that's how I know in any chronology that contradict this, I put it straight in the garbage. If once I start hearing, well, 2800 BC this, then I gotta do the math. Let me see if it makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense. So put that in the garbage. So I think that was the main thing I was trying to show with the two Adams, the two type of people in the world. So, one last thing I want to say. One last thing I want to say. That people asking like, okay, well, these people, they were gods, they were gods, and the other people, they were just regular people, just bums, replicas, whatever they were, So who are these people? Who are these people then? Who could have been from these people? Well, I mean, I'm sure in case you are Chinese, you're Mongoloid, you listen to, is it us? In case you Indian from India, is it us? I mean, the Indian with the straight hair, whatever. In case you white, you Caucasian, is it us? And then black people say, is it us? Well, by using logics, by using clues, if you see there was some evidence still of some of those people that came from Noah, like Kemet, ancient Egyptians, and they show that how they look. They left behind how they look, and they look like Negroes like me, but probably way darker. They have all those pictures on the walls and their stuff. Then if you have like you have European scholars that says, well, everybody was white until Ham messed up against Noah. He got cursed, and his son was the one who got the curse instead. Canaan, cursed be Canaan. So that's when black people were created. So because everybody was supposed to be white, and then black people was created from Ham, from Canaan. And I'm saying the only reason, white supremacy would say this, because they got to put some black in there. Because there are evidence there was black that used names that could have been traced to Noah. They have archaeological evidence where there were blacks in there. But white supremacy messed up when they said this, because once you said one person was black, and we do know only black people can give birth to other black people. Indian people cannot give birth to black people. That's two different types of people. They're not the same at all. Two different type of physiognomy. Two different type of bone structure, lips, nose, hair, everything. There are two different type of creations. So only black people can give birth to black people. So if there's evidence of one black person, we know white people cannot give birth to black people, because white people need melanins first before they can give birth to black people. Plus they need our hair. Plus, they need our nose and they need our lips without surgery. So white people cannot bring black people on earth. Black people can bring white people, but white people will steal their nose and the lips, which is, bring a light-skinned person. Because I've heard a lot of black people want quick to say, yeah, black people is the father of the white man. No, we're not. That's two different type of creatures. The only reason white supremacy created that out of Africa theory is to make black people look inferior. To say, well, everybody was black first, and then all of a sudden, black people got evolved. They became better. Now they gave birth to white. That's a lie. That's that white supremacy theory to make black people feel inferior. That white people are just an upgraded version of black people. That's madness. That's lies. Black people did not bring Caucasian people on earth. Did not bring them here. Although black people can bring people just as light as Donald Trump, because that's a mutation. That's leprosy. Just like Moses' sister, when she got leprosy, said, "Oh, why am I? Leprous as snow, white as snow." Black people can bring somebody very, very light. I can bring somebody, a kid on earth, with my wife who's dark skinned, a little bit darker than me. I can bring somebody lighter than Donald Trump. That's leprosy. That's a mulatto. That's a albino. That's a mutation. But I cannot bring the hair though. I cannot bring the nose, the bone structure of Donald Trump. I cannot bring the lips. I can bring the eyes. I can have an albino kid with blue eyes or green eyes or very light brown or hazel or green or whatever or gray, whatever it is. But I cannot bring Donald Trump. None of my kids can look like Donald Trump. I don't care what mutation happened. And none of Donald Trump kids can look like my kids. Donald Trump cannot bring, and no white couples can bring a dark-skinned kid. Because you cannot give what you don't have. You cannot give melanins when you don't have melanins. If you don't have it, you cannot give it. You can only give what you have. Me, I can lose what I have. But if you don't have it, if you don't have pigments, you don't have melanins, you cannot bring kids with melanins. Where you gonna get it from? From eating chocolate? It's not happening. So little clue shows you that if one black nation came from Noah, that means all the sons of Noah were black. When I say black, I mean as far as, I'm not even talking about color. I'm talking about as far as physiognomy. I'm not talking about color. If one of them were niggers, that means all of them were niggers. So now the question is, what about the other people? Obviously, Indians are not niggers. Yeah, in color they are. Some of them are dark skinned. I'm not talking about color. I'm talking about, I don't have to keep repeating myself. Indians don't have the same things as niggers. Niggers don't have the same thing as Indians. Indians have the same thing as white people. A white person is just an Indian with no color. Is a bleached Indian. When I say Indian, I'm not talking about the made up race they created for the Americas, that those fake Native Americans. No, those never existed. Those don't exist, and those never existed. Those type of red skin race thing they put in history, that they came here, they were here, and then they killed them with disease, the disease, and now they have to go to Africa and get blacks. No, those never existed. One thing, if you notice in those lies about Indians, those Native American Indians, I'm not talking about Indian from India. Everywhere they were, the story always ended up with, oh, they disappeared. Somehow, all of them disappeared, because people are gonna want to know where they're at. How come in our time we don't see any remainder of those people? Because all those histories had to end with saying, well, they just disappeared. Those Indians, the Mayans that look like this, they just disappeared. They went to, they used to live in somewhere in Mexico, and they just disappeared. They all disappeared somehow mysteriously. They all just packed up their bags and they flew to heaven. You know, because that story is a bunch of lies. You know, bunch of lies that these people created because they don't want to say that when they came to the Americas, niggas were here. Israelite niggas were here. Egyptian niggas were here. Cushite niggas were here. Sumerian niggas were here. Any type of niggas that came from Adam, that came from Noah. They came here. They're the one who traveled around and created civilizations. Because only them were gods. Everybody else were just the replicas. So now that you see in this world, it's like there's a vibe out there. Like all the non-Adamites people, they all feel something where they have some super hateful niggas. You know, they don't even understand why. You know, it's like all of them. It's not some of them. All of them, in their culture, like, look, if they have daughters, like, yo, don't go marry niggas. That's a bad thing. That's a, you know, marry niggas. You know, don't go marry no nigga woman, no nigga men. You know, they all want to look down on niggas as if they up there and niggas down there. And then not knowing that niggas are from Adams. The Adam 6,000 years ago. Niggas are from Noah. Niggas are the gods of the earth. And that's it. So with this, I'm just going to say it's been a long time. It was a long video. I'm going to have to cut it up in parts. Well, I'm going to say shalom.